Veteran suicide is a significant issue for the Australian veteran community. Between 1997 and 2020, around 1,600 veterans have taken their lives and many more will have attempted. Only recently, the Australian Government has authorised the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide. They will hand down their findings in 2024. I'm Professor Ben Wadham. I am a veteran and I am now the Director of Open Door, Understanding and Supporting Service Personnel and their families at Flinders University. This video is the account of a young Australian man who joined the Australian Defence Force with great aspirations. Unfortunately, in his initial employment training, he was raped by one of his commanders, and this led to a service that was plagued by trauma, despite the many exciting and positive events that he experienced as well. Glenn will tell you the story of why he wanted to join the Australian Defence Force, his negative experiences, and the many good things that he experienced as well. And then he will explain how the trauma that he experienced at the hands of a commander at the School of Infantry has continued to plague him for the rest of his life.
I was born in 1961, my little country town. I wasn't born in a hospital, I was born in a Syrian shed in the AAA class wool stand of our family property. I have two younger brothers and a younger sister. I also have a half sister from my mother remarried around about 4 years, I believe, after my biological father passed away. And he was a New South Wales policeman. On my father's side of the family were the Marskells. On my mother's side, more importantly, is the reason why I joined Defence. My late grandfather, the 106 Tank Attack Regiment gunner in the Matilda tank. I'm the only one in my family that carried on the tradition of my late grandfather. I always idolised my grandfather and the uniform that he wore in defence of this country. I was 4 years old when I was first asked what I wanted to do when I become an adult. And I said, I'm going to be just like that man there, right there, that picture right there, my grandfather. I was quite academic. Up until losing my father in the tractor accident, I was doing very well. Mathematics, English, farm life was terrific. You know, and I was very sporting as well. I played a lot of rugby league. I also played rugby union. I played golf, played tennis, squash, and I was a very good swimmer. I can't complain about my childhood in any way. A very proud Australian with morals and integrity, and I live by those still to this day. I think more so through my grandfather and my father's father, my pop. He was a bit the same, and yeah, they were pretty proud men back in those days. You know? I wanted to become a tankie, and I joined the military in 1979. I've never been yelled at so loudly in my life. It's a fair drive from Sydney to Wagga or to Kapooka, and didn't think we was ever going to get there. I went, where the bloody hell are we going? And we rock up there and it's dark, and this regimental sergeant major comes on and a couple of others and literally yelling his lungs out at us, and we were, what the bloody hell are we in for here? Yeah, we get marched off the bus and fucking, you know, 2 ranks and all this, and a lot more yelling and screaming, and it's like, oh wow, is this ever going to stop? Hang on, no, it's not going to stop, because you're a recruit, you know. They need to, and I do understand now, but right then, I didn't. I said I wanted to be a tankie like grandfather. And from the bush he taught me to shoot, and I could shoot pretty well. When one of the first tasks when you at Kapuka, and they take you over, I think it's week 2, and they take you a 25 metre mound and the SLR, and you sight it in with 10 rounds of 25 metre round. The SLR they handed me fitted me like a glove, as they say, and the fact that I could shoot the eye out of a needle before I went to defence. My 10 rounds were 10 bulls, and they pulled me off the mound, and I thought I'd done something wrong. Little did I know, well, not too long later, there was 2 other recruits with me, and we were marched off to the 100 metre mound with 10 rounds, 10 bulls, 200 metre mound, 10 rounds, 10 bulls, the 500 metre mound, 10 rounds, 9 bulls in a ring on the 9, and they took me back to 1,000 yards. At which I shot 8 bullseyes and 2 9s. I was never going to be a tanky. We had a choice back in 1979, 3 corps of which we wanted. My first was armoured, my second was transport, and my third was, well, I don't have much education behind me, so I can't do much else. Oh, maybe I could fall into catering corps. So they were my 3 choices. Yeah. At the march out, Marskell GW, Sir, School of Infantry. Are you kidding me? I felt very, very dejected. Did march out of Kapuka, one of very few in that time frame, with cross rifles as a recruit. At Singo, yeah, well, because I marched out of recruit training with cross rifles, it was pretty well a given that I had to prove my worth again in Singleton. My platoon sergeant, he was a scary man. Ex-Vietnam, lots of scars, a very scary individual. You know where you do your function just prior to march out? That evening was the start of the horrors of my military career. I got quite drunk. I was loaded into a car to be taken back to the lines. That car was a Holden Statesman. The driver was Sergeant, my platoon sergeant. I fell asleep in the passenger seat of that car. I woke to being raped in the front seat of that car by my platoon sergeant. I lost my wallet. It was on the floor of his car. The very next morning, I still couldn't get rid of the smell, the stench. So I went to the company clerk the next morning to report the rape, and proof of it would be my wallet. I get told by the clerk, where do you want to be in this man's army? If so, you're going to have a sore ass for a couple of days. Do you need a teaspoon of concrete? Harden the fuck up. It didn't happen. How dare you accuse a decorated Vietnam veteran of this? I went back to the lines. I didn't know what to fucking do. No one's going to believe me, but half the platoon knew what happened, including I was marched out, not with the boys. I marched out at Singleton. I was marched out the day before. I was told that I was being posted to 5-7 RAR at Holsworthy in Sydney. So I went home for the weekend. I didn't go to my mother's. I went directly to my grandfather, the Second World War Tank Attack Regiment gunner. He knew something had happened. I couldn't tell him. I felt ashamed. I felt dirty. I was a very immature young soldier, but very proud, and I can't let my family down. Now, I will go on with my life, and I will do what's needed to be done and try and become a really good soldier. I marched into 5-7 RAR on the Monday, only to find that I was going to 11 Platoon Delta Company, and in that same company was Private and Private. So everyone that I went through recruit training with, infantry training centre in Singleton, those nemesis were still with me in 11 Platoon Delta Company 5-7 RAR. And they were bullies. They were absolutely fucking bully nightmares. And then I had an absolutely amazing platoon commander, in Second Lieutenant Michael J. Jorgensen. Jorgo picked up that there was an issue with me, and he's the only one that I told of the rape. Unfortunately, in April of 1982, on an exercise at Puckapunyal in Victoria, a fateful night, in a rollover on APC, Second Lieutenant Michael J. Jorgensen lost his life. And I was the driver of 42 Bravo, and one of my best mates was the driver of that carrier, in Brian Jewell. Brian's still suffering really badly from post-traumatic stress because he blames himself. He was the driver, he was always going to blame himself. But, to make things worse, when we finally got back to battalion after that exercise on that fateful night, we're putting our carriers up in the carrier compound at Holsworthy. We actually come across a serving member who had taken his life in the carrier compound. He didn't hang himself with toggle rope, he hung himself with butchie cord. So I've got the rape to deal with. I've got the only person that knows the true facts of my story of the rape gets killed, and then I've got a digger swinging. We're supposed to be in peacetime, and I've already lost 2 close people in the space of a matter of a few months. Addiction, you know, I speak volumes of addiction to veterans I speak to now, and I've tried taking my own life 10 times. When things get hard, I fight tooth and nail to stay away from addiction. That started in my military career. Exercise drought master on the back of Burke. As I said, I'm 42 Bravo. I'm a driver for 42 Bravo, and we doing the exercise during the day, and you know, we stand to, and you're going to have dinner at night, and you just finish, and they're sending out the pickets and whatnot to, you know, your rotation of pickets, and all of a sudden you've got drivers and crew commanders to your carrier. We're off 3 hours, 4 hours into the night to do a resupply. You know? And then you sit there and you're waiting for a few hours, and then you've got to do the same thing back. And then you're getting back just as the sun's about to come up, so it's stand to and blah blah blah. And when am I going to get sleep? Yeah? And then all of a sudden you've got the RAP who says, here's a couple of little pills, you know? And you don't get Coca-Cola in your ration packs, but the RAP, the medic's got it, you know? Take these, and you know, if you start feeling doughy, you know, if you don't get a break and whatnot, come and see me. Boom. Well, that started an addiction that was with me for 30 years of my life. Duramine, 10U8, truckie bike, shakers, yeah, get given that. So that's what kept most of the drivers awake and doing their job. But they're called shakers for a reason, because if you have too many, you do get the shakes. I lived with addiction that started at Exercise Drought Master for 30 years of my life, that went from those little tiny pills to snorting speed snorting cocaine, I burnt the inside membrane out of my left nostril. As a party trick later on in life, I could literally put my little finger up inside my left nostril behind my eyeball and do a little trick and nearly pop my eye out of my eye socket. But I was 9 times out of 10, I was off my head on either speed or on cocaine. I've stuck a needle in my neck, I've stuck a needle in my arm. I've snorted that much, and I become a member of a patch club, a 1%er club, so I was getting it pretty well base cut straight from the cook through the club. I was interstate truck driver for 24 and a half years, driving from Brisbane to Perth, Brisbane, Darwin, Brisbane, Adelaide, Darwin, Sydney, Sydney back up to Cairns. Anything to stay away from civilians because they didn't get me. It's very bloody hard at times. I think the winter of 2020 was probably my hardest after losing my biological mother. I nearly went back to those amphetamines. I had the opportunity and I walked away from it, which was good. But I hit the bottle again. The part that disappoints me the most is there's a lot of people that know about what happened to me. All of it. It was the reason why I was this angry, mean motherfucker, and it's because of the trauma that I suffered in defence. So I wasn't just a mean motherfucker, like there was a diagnosis. I had post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't call them by that name, and I hope this is not too blunt, but I call them the Department of How Can I Fuck Over a Veteran Affairs. My first dealings with that department was 2003. I put in a dental claim in Cairns with an advocate up there, and it was denied. It's there in my medical history that I was kicked in the face. I lost 4 teeth. Captain Curry was the surgeon. Hang on. You owe me a denture, even though it's a partial, but it's the department that owes me that, not the general public, not the civilian side of things. So that was my start with that department, and I got denied. I got handed to a delegate who was doing everything in her power. Next thing you know, she's gone. And so I've got a new one, and I've got to go through it again. And then all of a sudden, that delegate becomes empathetic to me as a veteran. And then bang, he's gone. And it's like, what the fuck is going on in this department? So I go and I go and hit the grog, or I take, more drugs and, attempt suicide again. I've tried fucking knifing myself through the wrist, ODing on pills and with alcohol. I had an appointment with a delegate by the name of in Sydney, and he was doing okay for me. Another apathetic delegate, doing the right thing, trying to get everything done. I said, but before we get into the things, I said, I have one question to ask. He said, what is it? I'll see what I can do. I said, does the department give you a bonus every time a veteran takes his life? Do me a favour and take me fucking life, because I can't deal with this shit anymore. I don't want to be here. And people say, but you've got a family, you've got kids, you've got your family to think about. No, fuck my family, mate. They've got no idea what's going on up in here. I want to do them a favour and not be here anymore. Lessen the burden on them, because I was the problem. I alienated my brothers and my sisters, and I alienated my wife, I alienated my own children. I had no right to be here and put them through that shit anymore. I'm a victim of abuse. I'm a rape victim. I'm a bastardisation victim. I'm an assault victim. I lost my platoon commander. I've seen diggers swinging themselves. Not just that one from that accident after Buddy Jorgo got killed in Puckapunyal, but others that I've seen take their lives because you know, of situations that probably similar to mine, you know. When I decided to become clean, you know, nearly 19 years ago now, was the start of me becoming who I am today. A very proud veteran, even though I served in no man's land, as I call it. And I've become a voice for those that can't speak their truth. I am part of the victims of abuse inside the military. The rape, the bastardisation, the assault. The sergeant that raped me, Sergeant Vietnam veteran, he never got caught until 2 years later. And I've only found out since I'm here, on my way here, in Mackay, of a digger that was in a platoon, that a digger in that platoon was raped by Sergeant. That platoon found out and they bashed him nearly to death. Then he was dishonourably discharged. I can't find him. I can't forgive him. Because what he did to me, he took away my whole military career. I've got 2 telephones. I have sat and I have spoken a veteran through the night that's in the country regional area, knowing full well that if I was hang up that phone, his life's gone. You know? And at the same time, I've got this other phone while he's pouring his heart out and his soul out to me, and I'm taking it on. It is my therapy to do that. It is my passion now and my calling. I found my calling in life. None of us will ever recover from the incidents, but we can learn coping mechanisms, which I have, in order to be able to deal with the traumas of my service.